All right, Board of County Commissioners are in session. I'd like a motion to go into Board of Equalization.
Mr. Chair, I'd move that we enter into the Board of Equalization.
We have a motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So we'll go ahead and have the Deputy Clerk swear everybody in that is going to participate in the hearing at this hour. So,
You're going to toss these, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that any testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
thank you. So, this is a hearing of the Board of Equalization under Idaho Law 63501. The Board of County Commissioners are required to convene as the Board of Equalization. We are here to determine market value under Idaho Code 63-205. All real, personal, and operating properties subject to property taxation must be assessed annually at market value for assessment purposes as of 12:01 a.m. of the first day of January in the year in which such property taxes are levied. Furthermore, under Idaho Code 63502, the function of the Board of Equalization shall be confined strictly to assuring that the market value of assessment purposes of property has been found by the assessor, and to the functions provided for in Chapter 6, Title 63 of Idaho Code relating to exemptions from taxation. It is hereby made the duty of the Board of Equalization to enforce and compel a proper classification and assessment of all property required under the provisions of this title to be entered on the property rolls. And in so doing, the Board of Equalization shall examine the rolls and shall raise or cause to be raised or lower or cause to be lowered the assessment of any property which in the judgment of the board has not been properly assessed. The taxpayer shall have the burden of proof in seeking affirmative relief to establish that the determination of the assessor is erroneous, including any determination of assessed value. A preponderance of the evidence shall suffice to sustain the burden of proof. We are here to discuss the market value of the property, the condition, state, or information that is relevant to the topic. This is fact, not conjure, or things you may think. We are not here to discuss taxes, past grievances, policy, personnel income, or other issues. If you do not stick to the discussion as requested, your time will be reclaimed. So we're going to start out with Mr. Durfee, and you will be given 3 minutes. This white light will come on when it begins. The yellow light comes on with a minute to go, and then the red light will come on. You can go ahead and come up and sit down. And then the red light will come on when your time is up. When that red light goes on, a buzzer goes off. Usually makes me jump. But your time is up.
Jump, stop talking.
Your time's up.
That's a good cue right there.
All right.
So, and then after that, if there's any questions from the assessor's table, we'll let them ask questions. And then the assessor's table will be given 3 minutes. And then you will be given an opportunity to ask us. All questions go to the board. You'll be given an opportunity to ask us questions, and then we'll go ahead and we'll have a discussion. Nobody else participates in, and then we'll be done. So be kind, direct all questions and comments to the board. If your conduct is out of line, you'll be warned, and if it continues to be out of line, the marshals will escort you off the premises.
Well, I hope that doesn't happen.
we don't look to that. So go ahead and state your name for the record, and your 3 minutes will begin.
Okay. Stephen Durfee. I live at 4999 Clearview Avenue. And the parcel in question, which you guys should have all that. I don't know what the number is. I'm here again this year because I came in last year when it went from 1,550 to 22,000.205, and we ended up agreeing to 12,000, which was a 10,450 increase. Now I find again this year it's right back at the exact same assessment as it was in 2022 to 22,205. This is mostly a canyon with a little partial of it that's the edge of a parking area and our garden. The rest of it is a draw. And our property has no city sewer. We're on a septic that we maintain. We have no curbs, no gutters. think there's one street light on that entire street of Clearview. So it's a little different area than a lot of areas where we don't have some of the things that the city offers other properties in our area. So I have a real problem with it bouncing back to something I was just here last year over, and so that's why I'm here to question.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
I don't have any
Okay.
questions now.
Okay, your 3 minutes begin now.
Okay, so the appellant is correct. This is, it's an additional or contiguous parcel that's additional to his main house. And from all that we can see is that it is used for parking and garden. So we have it in as what's called additional acres. They value it, the standard rate for additional acres is $1.49 a square foot. And it's basically just accounting for the additional size of the lot. We try to, because some parcels can't be combined, we try to treat them as if it's one lot. So the main lots, that the first half acre every lot up there is 81,000. And that would be his main lot. And then the additional acres, which is the lot in question, would typically be at $1.49 a square foot. We are aware that there's topography up there. Most of the parcels do have up there topography. He is correct that this is in Johnny Creek. There is a mix of those with their own septic and their own wells, and some with city water and some with city sewer. We are aware of that, so it's not as a typical subdivision like most of them would be. If you go to the comparable sheets, if we're looking at the comparables, basically what we believe has happened here is that it's just that the BOE decision went on for last year and then it just came off. It's gone back to its original $22,000 value, which is currently valued at $22,205 or $1.35 a square foot. So what we did is we brought three comparables. Comparables 1 and 2 are in the same subdivision. All three of them are in the same neighborhood and land schedule. You'll see that the subject property in comparables 1 and 2 are all site rating B, so that they're as equitable as they can get. And as you can see, for a basic lot, up there, the price per square foot there would be anywhere from $5 to $10 a square foot for a typical lot. I put comparable 3 on there to show the lowest site rating available, so that you can see that even on this is a lot in a trailer court, so it is limited to just a manufactured home on it, and it is the lowest site rating we have in the neighborhood, and even it sits higher than the current additional acres. Now this is done on purpose. The additional acres, we are just to take care of the variances we find between lots. And so it's put at a much lower rate of $1.35 rather than your standard as you're seeing here between $5 to $10 a square foot. So we believe the value of the $22,205 is equitable with his neighbors up there currently for additional acres. It's still being treated as contiguous additional acres. There is no topography influence on any of the lots up there because most of them have
Thank you.
topography.
Thank you. Question about what he just stated.
Well, yeah, here again, 90%.
Okay, this is the time to ask questions, not to rebuttal.
Okay, my question is 90% of it's unbuildable, undoable with anything. What has changed since 2022 when it was $1,500 and $15,550, whatever it was, to now? Because you tried to bump it up, it was tried to be bumped up last year to $22.05. I agreed to 12, that's what the commissioners came, and I thought that was fair. I still thought it was high, but now it's right back where it was again. What has changed with my property since then? I guess I'd like to say, because it's still steep topography for the most part, except for that little sliver.
Okay, thank you.
So I can answer?
Yes.
All right, so what has changed when it was at $1,500, it was what we call a converted value or a token value. When we had converted from an old CAMA system to a new CAMA system, there were land schedules were not set up. And so there were a lot of parcels that wouldn't work as a standard parcel that were put in as token values. And over the last 2 years, those have been cleaned up and put in the proper category. And that's the reason they went from the token value to the additional acres at that time. That's why there was the jump in 2022, or I believe 2023. And then there was the BOE decision that took it to 12,000. And then after that came off, it went back to the additional acres.
Okay. Comments?
Yeah, have you ever tried to combine these two into one parcel?
No, yeah, I didn't know
Okay.
that was possible.
What would be the benefit, because I was looking at some of his neighbors around, and he would be slightly less acreage, and I realize you're giving him the contiguous, but if we merged it into one, would that give him a little bit of a benefit that way?
Let me take a look. I'm looking at the sizes here because the pricing doesn't change, but 0.37.
He goes, and .48, I think, is the one the home site's on.
Okay, 0.49. So he may see a small drop in the overall total value. Because what we're looking at is, for where his home is at, where the standard lot size is about half an acre. So that half an acre is put in at the 81,000. And anything above that, whether they're two separate lots or one combined lot, are put in at that additional acres, price per square foot. So not too much of a difference.
Well, as I look at it, I think that's the easy solution to this, is if we can combine the two
it could.
lots, do
Absolutely.
that way you get a little bit of a hit, but not the hit you're talking about right now with the 22, and I think it makes more sense, because that brings him into line with pretty much everybody around him with almost lot size and everything, so.
And you can combine them. I kind of checked on some things on your two parcels, and it looks like you could combine them. You'd need to come to our office and fill out a form, and then they could combine them. Now, that doesn't mean that when you go to sell them, that you can't sell them separately. This is just for taxing purposes that we
Really?
do this. And the fact that you're covered, yeah, so you can think about it. You can, yeah.
I still have a question, if I can. So I'm going to ask the same question I did before. So when we agreed to 12,000 last year, what has changed since then from the 12,000 to bringing it back to where it was now? What's changed in 1 year?
Well, if I understand it correctly, BOE decisions are temporary 1 year adjustments. And so they're put on for 1 year, just like for the last year's tax year, like they were supposed to be. And then at the end of that, they're taken off.
And we have to, okay, so to answer that a little further, we have to relook at every parcel every year. And we have to relook at the whole county. We physically inspect only a fifth of the county every year, but we have to look at all of them. So unfortunately, it does look like you guys lowered it, and so now we're upping it again, but it's because we have to relook at those, and as we look at those, it has to be brought back up to the market value.
And the difference, I mean, part of the difference also, I don't know what you brought before us last year. I don't know if you brought pictures, I don't know what you brought. But there had to be a preponderance of evidence. And right now, from what you brought before us, you haven't brought preponderance of evidence. You brought your opinion, which I read in the opening statement. This is facts that we're dealing with. And so we are required to agree with the assessor unless there's a preponderance of evidence that changes our thought pattern. And so right now, in my own opinion, I haven't seen a preponderance of evidence.
I have a question.
Okay?
Do you have access to the topography? Which I figured you probably did. So if you look at the topography and you look at the parcel we're talking about, that's the evidence that whatever percent that is, greater than half, is unusable. It's steep. I don't know what properties they're comparing it to. I know of none that are like ours.
If I may, Mr. Chair, I would just move that we remand this back to the assessor, have you go over and apply to combine the two lots, because then that makes you very comparable to all of your neighbors around you, and it kind of evens out.
We can't do that for this year.
Well, Let me finish.
I'm fine for,
Let me finish, 'cause
you
I'm
what?
traveling down that path. Because if you can combine them, I'm willing to reduce this back down because it solves the problem going forward. And so, again, I'm willing to meet you halfway and say, we'll put it back at last year's value if you work with the assessor and combine them into one lot.
I'd love to be able to figure that out, yes, that'd be great. And then let me question, and I'm sure she can bring it, so if we work towards that, if I decided to sell it, I could revert it back to 2, and I don't know why I would do that, but, because it's not really usable for
Right,
anything.
I don't know why you
So there
wouldn't.
probably wouldn't be a reason to do it. Yes, I would, yes, I agree to that.
So, Mr. Chair, that would be my official motion then, that we remand it back there. And if they can split the lots, then we put the value back to last year's.
Okay.
And before we do that, are you guys comfortable thinking that we can get that done?
Yeah, I'm gonna give him some information. When he's done, I'm gonna walk out with him and give him some information.
Okay, so if you can't get it done, then nothing changes. Everything stands the way it is. So I'm applying a little pressure.
Okay, and that's great. My question is, so you said we can't do the lot thing until next year, but as long as we work together, you'll put it back at the 12.
That is the motion that I'm making.
Okay.
We'll go back to the 12.5 last year's
Thank
value.
you, yes.
Are you clear with that?
I'm clear with it. I don't agree with it,
Oh,
but,
well, let's talk then if you want.
well,
I have a couple of questions.
okay,
too.
go ahead, John.
So it was 12 last year, by the way. Do you recall from last year what the reasoning was for the BOE to lower it to 12,000?
From what I remember, it was because I believe I'm not sure what the comparables were, but it was the amount of change where it went from 1,500 to 22,000. Seemed a bit steep.
That doesn't
I'm not
sound like
quite- I
something
haven't
we
seen
would
it.
have decided. I could see us talking about, and I can't remember obviously, but
Yeah.
I could see us looking at the topography, and if you have this steep grade that really is worth, you can't do anything
Mhm.
with it whatsoever, would be my guess
Yeah,
as
that
to
could
why
have
we
been. That's-
did that. And so I don't know, just, yeah, years gone by, but I don't see where anything's changed whatsoever.
Yeah,
So
it's still
I am in
steep.
line with putting it back to 12,000, so I guess if your motion is the motion that does that, that's what I would go with.
Well, I wasn't gonna make that big of a cut.
Okay.
I mean, because he said that it would go down some, but not that substantial. So,
And again, my rationale is it ties it in line with all the neighbors behind him and around him that are dealing with the steep topography. So he will experience an increase in his overall lot price, and it should then be in commiserate with his neighbors. So we don't have an outlier out there. So will it be 12.5? I don't know next year. It might be 14, but at least it'll be one parcel that is contiguous and in line.
It was 12 last year.
12, yes, thank you.
all right, we do have a motion on the table.
And can you restate the motion, I'm sorry?
Yes, the motion is that if he will work with the assessor to combine his property, primary residence and this parcel into one, that we will revert this year's assessment to last year's value of 12,000 and go from there.
Okay.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, nay.
Yay.
Carries 2-1. All right, you have an assignment then to talk with the assessor. She'll give you her card, and you can move forward in that direction.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, Chris?
Glad to see you guys are in a good mood.
Chris Pine. And that just says that, you know, we talk. We don't always have to agree, but we have
Oh,
a conversation.
I understand. I think that's the way to do it.
All right, if you'd go ahead and state your name and your 3 minutes will begin.
Okay, Chris Pine. The property I'm talking about is a parcel up at the end of City Creek Road, 6010 City Creek Road. I purchased that 2.5 years ago for 150 grand. It was assessed at 66,000. build a house on it. The next year it jumped to 105. The following year it jumped to 234, I believe it was. And then this year they bumped it up to 363. And evidently there was the dry grazing issue caused a lot of that. But I guess when I look at this whole thing, my neighbor, the Ratliffs, they bought a 200-acre piece up there. They paid $1 million for it, so $5,000 an acre. The parcel adjacent to me, almost identical topography, which most of it's 50 or 60% grade. They lowered their assessment this year to $1,500 an acre, and they raised me to the whole thing, this $363,000, which evidently, from what they're telling me, they're trying to make it fit into their system, their software system, which doesn't make sense. I always thought you guys were appraisers. It just doesn't make any sense.
I'm gonna warn you there.
Mhm.
Don't start going personal.
Oh, I wasn't trying to be personal.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just,
Yeah.
I keep in line here.
Sure, that's fine. If I hired a certified commercial appraiser, are they gonna come back with that value? I doubt they would. And I may have to end up doing that. You know, the influx of people from out of state has obviously caused a lot of our price increases here, and the people that live here are paying the price for that. This doesn't seem fair. This property is pretty well undevelopable on a majority of it. I only have one private access, no other access. There's utilities in City Creek Road, but they're way far away. So I have no intention of ever wanting to develop the property as old as I am. I think I'd have to be crazy. At least I keep telling myself that. I am a disabled veteran. I live on a fixed income. Then this $1,000 a year in taxes is going to affect me a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Question?
Does Mr. Pine run or graze cattle or livestock or of any sort?
Do you raise anything?
There's never been any up there that has.
No. Okay. All right, your 3 minutes begin now.
Okay, thank you. So in order to look at this property, I think that's, I took the house off it. In the packet, I did provide comparables for the house, but the appellant isn't worried about the house. He's worried about the land value. And so I got the three comparables. A 40-acre parcel, well, two basically 40-acre parcels, and then the actual parcel that is adjacent to his house, which is the 210 acres that was purchased. And that actually covers two different parcels. And as you can see on the comparable sheet, all three of the comparables come in at higher than the subject parcel. Now, comment was made, or at least in the packet, about the value that we're giving to the adjacent parcel, only $1,500. That's not an ag rate. That's the lowest residential land rate that we have. It is $1,500 an acre because it encompasses a parcel that is more than over 50 acres in size when you combine it with the parcel that's adjacent to it. So you have these two parcels, 210 acres. The first acre is going to have a home site value on it, and then up to 20 acres you have an additional acreage, and then from 20 to 30 it breaks out to a smaller rate per acre, and then anything over 50 goes even further. And this 157 acre parcel that's adjacent to his is all over that 50 acre amount. And so on Mr. Pine's parcel, we've done the same thing. We've broken it out also at different rates. We have the home site value on it, and then we have the additional acres and then up to 20, and then additional acres up to 50, and anything over 50. And so the final 22 acres on his parcel is actually at that $1,500 rate, the same as the adjacent parcel. So we feel that the value that we put on it is equitable with the other parcels in the area. And we're determining that value the same way that we do in its neighboring parcels. So, yeah, we feel that we should uphold the values that we came up with.
Okay, thank you. Questions about what he just said?
Yes, I don't know where this comes into play here, but this stepped value, is that something that's from an appraisal technique, or is it your system, or what? I've never heard of that. Never heard of it, and I've been around appraisals for 30 years.
You want to answer that one?
We call it diminishing returns. So as you purchase property, the more you purchase, the less people are willing to pay per square foot or per acre for it. So if someone were to sell a 0.2 acre parcel in the city for $100,000, they're not going to pay $200,000 for a half an acre in the city. So they will pay more for it overall, but the price per square foot goes down as the parcels get bigger. In this case, there aren't very many of them, because most of them in that size are in ag, but we do have parcels that are this big that are rural residential. And so to account for that, the larger they get, like you mentioned, the first acre is where the majority of the value is, in that first, where the home site goes. And then up to 20 acres is put in at roughly, it depends on the market area, but roughly $10,000 to $15,000 an acre. And then it'll drop, once it goes to 20 acres, from 20 to 50 acres, it'll drop to about $2,000 an acre, or excuse me, $3,000 an acre. And then once it hits 50 acres, it'll drop to about $1,500 an acre. So the entire thing is not at 1,500, it's just the excess parcel, acreage that is.
50 plus.
And it's simply accounting for diminishing return, or the fact that the more you buy, the cheaper it is per square foot.
Okay. Further questions?
No.
Okay, comments?
Yeah, I want to drill into that methodology just a little bit, because as I'm looking at this piece of land, the majority of it does not appear to be developable, so why not apply, because it's all contiguous, all of the acreage, why not apply that 1,500 across all of it except that initial building lot? Why use that stair stepper on that? Now, and again, I could see if you're talking like a bare ground that you could maybe develop the whole piece, okay, I get that. But in instances like this where the majority of the property is not developable, why not apply that across the whole, where it's all contiguous? Does that make sense? Am I
I
making
think,
sense?
if I'm understanding correctly. But I believe the comparable one is what you're referring to? I'm not sure if it was.
No.
If you have multiple parcels, if you
No,
do?
no, you're talking about the subject parcel.
Yeah, just the
Okay.
subject is why. So why use the
Okay, in
stair
this
step?
case, I believe he is in as contiguous or not?
It's only one parcel,
Yeah.
77 acres.
Correct.
Or 77.22 acres. So we've got,
Okay.
we have that home site, we have up to 20, we have 20 to 30, or 20 to 50,
Right,
and then over
and
50.
my question is just
Okay, so-
mainly because it's not all developable, why not just apply it flat as opposed to stair stepping?
Like a flat 1,500, you mean?
Yeah,
Well, that's a good question. The sales up there, if we're looking at sales up there, the sales are showing that values for properties are going for $10,000 to $15,000 an acre. We just know that as it gets larger and larger, they're not willing to pay that much. So your flat rates start out high enough that we need to try to account for that lower value as it gets bigger on a single parcel. And I'm trying to understand your question. How you compare
So
that
if
to
you
1,000.
went at market value per acre, it'd be $10,000.
Yeah,
And you don't want to charge him $10,000 per acre.
correct.
So the system allows you to say, okay,
To lower it.
1,500 if you get over 50 acres. So honestly, it gives the landowner the benefit of the doubt, because,
It's-
like I say, you don't want to charge him $10,000 an acre.
Right.
And like you say, a person's not wanting to pay $10,000 an acre, so. Where did this system come from, do you know? Methodology?
There are a couple things. It's built into the CAMA system that we use, and it's taught at our IAAO.
So this is throughout the state of Idaho, this is the
Yeah.
system that is used, and that's where it comes from?
Yes.
Okay. Further questions?
yeah, I'm doing some math, give me a second.
John?
So there's another property just a little bit to the north. It's 105 acres, and it is assessed at 35,000.
What's the category, can you see what the category is? Is it ag land? It could be ag.
They tend to be a lot lower.
Parcel, let me give you the price. It must be for that price.
Can you read me that? Hang on one second.
Yep, just
Give me parcel number.
let me know when you're ready.
Okay, I'm ready.
RPR 385-302-8510. And it was just a totally random click.
Yeah, that's ag.
It is ag, okay, that explains that then. Okay.
And Mr. Pine doesn't use any of this for ag.
Correct, so.
There's no water.
We do have dry ag options,
Dry
if you were to lease it out to somebody that wanted to use it.
Okay.
You wouldn't have to farm it
I'm out
yourself.
of, I got nothing.
Got a motion?
I don't even know if I have a motion, because I tried, but
Well, I'll make a motion that we uphold the assessor's value. We have a motion, all in favor say aye. Aye.
I
Okay, so we upheld their value. You have the ability to appeal to the state or to the courts. Within the next 30 days, you'll get a letter explaining what happened and give you your options if you so choose.
Understand. Yeah, this don't surprise me.
All right, thank you.
oh, we
Thanks for
tried.
your time.
We tried.
All right. Penny Pink. All right.
Can I just say, Mr. Chair, I move that I agree with the assessor's recommendation on this one.
Yeah, I mean, you've looked at it, you have a suggestion.
Yeah, we had a lot of conversation back and forth with the property owner, and there was a lot of conversations there that the appellant stated that they felt their commercial broker felt that because it's been shut down for 5 months for cleaning and renovation of the restaurant space, that the broker felt it couldn't be listed as a restaurant, but we see vacant restaurants listed all the time as turnkey opportunities, so we let the property owner know in its current state, we would list it as a vacant restaurant and value it as such.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, I would move that we accept the assessor's recommendation of the reclassification, lowering the total value to $398,998, with the value reduction coming off of the improvements.
We have a motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Important of development.
Let me just cut to this one too, because I agree with the assessor's recommendation on this one.
I do too. I mean, that property's being developed up there. It's,
Yeah, and honestly, this is one that in a perfect year, in a perfect scenario, the value would be at either $4 per square foot or higher, whatever market is, and the developer would file for the exemption. A couple years ago, Commission lowered it down to $1 a square foot because it was after the point where an exemption could be applied for. Since then, in the following 2 assessment years, the parcel's been split multiple times. So with all of those splits, our office hasn't caught it to raise the value back up, and the appellant also hasn't appealed or applied for the developer's exemption. So that was just same
been
situation
talked about and
this
the
year.
option's been there.
Yep.
That's the way I feel. John, anything?
Nope. Mr. Chair, I'd move that we accept the assessor's recommendation and uphold the values as assessed.
We have a motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We have
Mr.
another
Chair, I
motion?
would move that we exit the Board of Equalization.
We have a motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. With that being said, we are adjourned. Thank you all.
Jason, for coming.